world. Patricia O'Connor and Frida Reba Darcy here. It is Saturday on the Bonsai Balcony. I'm kind of excited to do today's show. It is a beautiful and a quite warm Saturday afternoon, late afternoon. People are enjoying the pool behind me. My sidekick Frida has been enjoying. Is that the least you can do? My sidekick Frida has been enjoying her day so far, and I am excited about today's show. We are the Bonsai Balcony. This is our balcony, and I'm nestled in here amongst the cypress tree and an oak tree and some trident maple, and it's pretty cozy right here. I probably could have put this table up on blocks if I'm 100% honest, but we'll be okay. What you're looking at, I'm kind of rambling because I'm nervous. We're gonna fold. I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail. Those who stick around to the end, or at least fast forward to the end, will see that we're going to end up in a place quite a bit different than where we start off at. And this is a Japanese. Guess what this is? This is the Japanese black pine, and we started this tree from seed last year. I'm looking at it, I'm going, yeah, this is one of last year's trees. And so I bought some Japanese black pine seeds on Facebook auction, and I got a Ziploc baggie with several hundred seeds in it, and I have proceeded to just plant those in rounds of 40 and 30s and 40s at a time, and I have had more fun. I was thinking about that in the shower. It's all a matter of perspective. On one hand, y'all, I'm kind of at my age, things can happen. When you get to be my age, you might have lost a relative or two, or maybe a partner or two. If you've always had dogs, you would have seen a few of your little precious babies come and go. And what I'm getting at is some people can lose better than others. I'm not a good loser. I am not a good loser. So when it comes to losing something, be it an old friend or a spouse or a parental figure or Japanese black pine, I don't like it. I don't like it. Haven't said that. The idea is to see what we can do to make a beautiful tree out of this, and the artistic nature of myself, and I come by it naturally to some extent. With that going on, I would say I really enjoy making these, growing and making and bending and folding these little Japanese black pines. But here's something else. When y'all see me bend and fold these trees up so tightly, like some of what is about to happen right here, I get it. Some of y'all are scared for the tree. And I very much feel that. I don't want for anything to suffer or for anything. I don't want for anything to suffer or for anything to die. But I also think about this from the perspective of what's going on here. I have about 50 of these. So if you're going, I'm going to watch this video and see what Pat does with her little Japanese black pine seedling, and then I'll get some ideas as to what to do with my Japanese black pine seedling. And so then you see me do things. You see me do things with this tree, and you think, oh my God, can it ever survive that? And I would never in a million years do that to the little tree I love. Well, okay, I get that loving something and then having a very protective nature about it. I totally get that. And wow, you know, I've got a lump of clover here that I kept pruning the top off of, and by not pulling it out, the trunk on this clover rivals the thickness of the of the pine tree. So yeah, I suppose that got me fitting. So here's what we're doing. I've got a couple of pieces of wire that I haven't used yet that I am planning on wiring this little pine tree, and then I'm just cutting the pot back. I'm just cutting the pot back as a way of kind of controlling what I'm doing. I'm about to pull this whole tree out of this pot in a minute. So this isn't going to be permanent. So what I was saying is on one hand, I've seen enough laws to where it kills my soul to think of something struggling with that. Pat, we didn't do this. I won't give y'all credit for this. I did that. But that took up a lot of soil space, big old huge cavity where that rock was. All right, so I'm gonna, agonize over the passing of pretty much anything. That's just kind of how I'm broken. But on the other hand, when you see me taking a wire and tightly wrapping it around the tree, and then tightly wrapping the tree around something like this, and you think, oh my God, I would never get away with that. I would never do that to my little, yeah, I have 50 of them. So that gave me that gave me the room to experiment and see what we could get away with. And these little trees are resilient, and what I have seen is that Japanese black pines in particular, the reason why people consider these to be so suitable. Look at all those roots. Man, just a happy little tree, y'all. All right. And that's the reason people consider these to be so suitable for bonsai is because they're resilient, and you can do. There's another huge boulder in here. Come on, really? You didn't see all these huge rocks here? To fire the hell. So this tree has some really, really cool roots that we're about to expose. That it's already kind of started off, it's already given us a pretty cool, and I didn't, when it came time to stab a wire, a copper wire to this tree, I wanted to see these roots first. I wanted to see what kind of woody roots we had. That was that, as opposed to just taking a wire, cutting one end of it short, and just stabbing it in there, and then going to the trunk and then measure. On this time in particular, I wanted us to have a little look inside. This is pretty light gauge copper wire, but I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine for what I want to do. The tighter you make these spirals, the more bending power you have with your piece of wire. The more elongated you make the spirals, that's kind of like training wheels. I think that's like a lack of. When I did that, it was a lack of confidence in my just getting started in wiring and not wanting to wreck a tree with a piece of wire. So I would elongate the spirals as long as possible, so as to have to make as few wraps as possible to put a wire wrap on the tree from top to bottom. The problem with that is that wasn't enough wire on there to navigate the bends, especially because quite often that wire would have been aluminum, and when you spread the wire out, you're negating its holding power by a whole bunch. And then when you do that, plus go with aluminum wire, or put it another way, copper wire can do the same job and be a third thinner. Then its aluminum partner. Ooh. Should have cleaned this out better. Who's going in his thing? Yeah. Also, before you go and wire, it's a good idea. I used to be really bad about not doing this. It's a really good idea to go through and decide who is it specifically you want to keep in the way of buds, and what is just undergrowth, and get rid of one and keep what you want. But then that tells you what you're trying to wire around, and then get the others the heck out of there so that you're not wiring down needles. If you wire down needles, they don't supply anything to the trees because they've been wired down to a point of not being able to photosynthesize actual sunlight. But then the tree is going to spend some amount of allocation before it kills that off. It will waste some energy trying to maintain that. So better to pull them off, and then, or cut them, and then maybe get back buds over that. Better to do that than to wire down needles. And your teacher or that pro will see those wire needles and will remember when they done that, and will remember that they had to learn better than that, and will equate that to your current state of where you're at as a bonsai person. You would be, oh, that smells so good, you would be judged. From pulling those buds, my fingers just smell like pine tree now, and they smell really good. I'm gonna go back and look. Having said all of that, I'm gonna go back and look and make sure I don't have any wired down needles. Here they are. So if you're doing this and you're dabbing away while shooting a bonsai video, and you do wire down needles, go through and get them out of there, pull them out of there, cut them out of there, pluck them out of there. done and done. Okay, now that moved us to there. Now this is something else that we were kind of stainless steel chopstick. A lot of people will go through and use stainless steel chopsticks to go through and you know, tease out their soil. It feels good in the hand. It's solid. My problem with it is I'm always worried about getting overactive with it and ripping off little roots. It is solid. It does have a certain amount of heft to it. You get that swinging, and this is a lot more force because you're just holding on to this end, and that's amplifying, you know, the leverage amplifies all that. So I find that's why I've always said behold weenie skewer. As much fun as this is to hold and play with, when it comes to going through and trying not to tear up roots, but working my way in there and trying to break up soil, or just the opposite, going through there and on mame trees, those little air pockets and stuff. Behold weenie skewer. These are just little bamboo pokers. They're super strong, and they do a really good job. And they can be found in the impulse aisle of the grocery store. It is the same thing that you would use for cocktails and stuff. And I'm breaking this up pretty fine. I have several reasons for this. I don't want any signs of this cube shape on here. We're going to show off our roots at some point, and I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty darn excited about that. But over here and over here, I may just cut that out of there. But this wasn't really a show about removing a whole lot of roots. Now this would also be a time, but no, because I'm going to be working down here with them, and I really like these scissors. They're not the most expensive scissors in the world, but I got them at the hardware store, and they have plastic handles, but they're stainless blades. They're super sharp. They've been holding a good edge all summer, and they're about $20. So yeah, I think they're pretty darn cool. But as such, I'm not gonna go sticking them down here in this sandy, wet root ball and go trying to cut dirt with them. I'm gonna. That is the job for. These guys are brutal. Yeah, these guys are brutal. I accidentally did a sacrificial. I took a little chunk out of my finger with that last week, cutting a piece of string. Can I untangle this anymore? I can if I just will. Now, another. I'm gonna make sure. I am in fact throwing a second piece of copper wire on here. I'm just going to throw 2 on here to make sure. This is a project I'm a little nervous about. I'm a little excited about it, and I want to make sure that I've got enough got enough metal on this tree to facilitate the bends that we need to facilitate early on this trunk. I don't want any, you know, normally when I do one of these, it was kind of like what I was alluding to earlier. The biggest loss for me is do I lose the 20-minute mark on a YouTube video that I've already been working on? Is that, you know, if it goes bad or comes out ugly or breaks, or, you know, I've yet to wreck a baby pine tree enough by wiring it that I didn't think that we had good results or a good show. Been doing this part a couple of years now, and so far I haven't had to burn any videos. I haven't had to burn any videos yet. So, on the other hand, I don't typically just want to go with 2 pieces of wire without, oh, my fingers smell all piney, without one of those wires branching off down on the limb. And I didn't do that this time. It's just 2 on there because I want to make sure that the bends we're trying to get, that we get with no excuses. It's not a matter of me doing this so that if it doesn't go well, we just wasted a video and I'll take this wire off and put another wire on it and throw that video away and we'll start over. No, this is a more part of a process, and we're going to be here. We might be here for a minute, y'all. Yeah. Looking at this tree, and I'm thinking about our angles and what it's kind of given us here. And what I'm looking at is woody roots already. At some point, I would have been concerned. I would have been concerned about getting these tight bends with just that one, thickness of wire. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Black pine on the Barbie. Now, if the idea was to do a black pine tribute to wine openers, we would be there. We would so already be there. Giving a final look to what our roots are looking like, and I'm doing this a little bit more than I normally do. I'm normally not paying this much attention to untangle and sort our roots, but I am this time, and it is, we'll just say it's for reasons, y'all. All right. You guys know how that's pretty good movement. We did these kids are like they're having a good time at school. I'm adding more movement here down into the roots, doing something a little bit. I'm trying not to tear up these little fiberglass. Or little fiber guys, okay. Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be. You just saw me put that swirly kink in it. Now we're going to take our little coils and start closing them up. Just closing that spring up. How do you like that? I like that pretty good. Is that a final position? No. Nope. Because we're about to repot this, but not in a bonsai pot. So I'm not going to decide an angle just yet, nor am I going to completely organize these roots right now. Why, Pat? Quit leaving us hanging here. All right. Hang one more. As she hangs her hat on the tree. Colander Girl 2.0. Hang out over here for a second. Don't go nowhere. As stated, Colander Girl 2.0. In our last show where I did a colander, we took some of our straight trees and I just wrapped a wire on them for later, and I cut some pieces of PVC at random lengths, and I ran wire through the bottom of them, and I wired them to small colanders that we sell at the store, and we did a show about that. And I'm so excited about the work and the way that they're looking, that the one tree that I had already put quite a bit of motion in, I started noticing that it had roots coming out of the bottom of the colander already. And this is like a year will be next spring, so we've got a long way to go. It's not even, latter half of summer, and it's already got roots coming out of the bottom with the ways to go yet. So I was like, well, before that trunk gets thicker and with all of those roots, we might ought to tackle that one straight spot in the trunk that we didn't get when we put motion in that tree, because it's got pretty good motion otherwise. So we did that. That was a show that we just did. We put some hellacious bends on that tree, and we bent it. The first motion that we had, it was me bending a half a dozen trees, and that was the show. I was like, pretend I have 1,000 trees, and this is my pine trees. I'm going to stab a wire in 30 trees, and I'm going to come back and go 1, 2, 3, and then set the tree down, pick up another one, go 1, 2, 3, and then set it down. And when I've done all that, I'm going to come through there and just do this, and set it down and pick up another one. 30 seconds a tree or 20 seconds a tree. And that's what it looked like. It didn't look like an all-out attempt. It looked like something that if you bought from a bonsai grower, it would be the first-year development of a little Japanese black pine, and the final motion and the final movement could be up to you, but it's already got some. And to that end, I wasn't happy with the movement down early. So I amplified that, exemplified that, just went with a lot more of it, and I'm really happy with it. And I just totally do. I see the possibility in this. What I still kind of lament was I had an idea towards the end of that. I was like, well, I'm kind of concerned. Some of those, I had taken a piece of net, the same screen that I use for the bottom of bonsai tree pots, and I rolled that into a tube and put some wire on it so that it would stay in a tube. And that tree is doing real well. It kind of air-pruned in that tube, and it goes down into the colander, and it's all real happy. But some others, my idea was to do a PVC tube, and I'm kind of worried about how that's all going to come through that heavy PVC tube. Am I going to have to cut it? Will I damage the roots if I have to cut a long piece of plastic tube when this is all over? Or will I be able to fold the roots down here enough to get them to come through the tube? Or will I be able to fold the tree up enough to get it? All of those things I was kind of wondering. And indeed, I'm also thinking I will have to time the development, maybe not by when I think the roots are doing something cool, but when I still think I can get them out. That might be my deciding factor on when that goes. So remember, we're doing this for the first time. 2, we have some other people's experiments to go on. The part where I learned to do pine trees and colanders, I got from Japanese growers when I first started watching bonsai trees. And the part where I learned to do this long extension here, I got partially from them and partially from Eric at Bonsai, who has done quite a bit of work with long root growth. And when I first got my first Japanese black pine, I got it from Jonas Dupois of Bonsai Tonight, and I got a nice tree, and I got a seedling in a cup. And I said, I want to learn with my seedling in a cup. What do I do? And he goes, well, your first thing you're going to want to do is worry about putting motion in the tree as low as possible so that you don't, while you still can, while the tree is still pliable, and as soon as you can, start working on the roots. And I waited a long time to get around to the roots because I was really worried about overwatering and some other things had me freaked out. So I kind of wanted to make sure that I was pedaling the bicycle before I started worrying about the roots. And by worrying about the roots, this is kind of what we mean. With Japanese black pine roots, or with pine roots in general, you can do some really cool stuff. My 20-year from seed it's this tall, and it has a base that's that wide, and it just does that. And all of this is heavy, wide, just wide hip, absolutely to die for, width, the base of a tree, and that was all once roots, and they all just fused together, and then they bark over. So that's what those guys do. So what we're going to do here is just like this is a longer example than what we just did on. But the whole point is we'll have roots growing in this basket, and we'll have a lot of them. And we're also going to let this tree that we're doing, the one we just bent that I said I was nervous about because it's special, we're going to let that tree grow bigger than our traditionally smaller trees. I have some large terracotta pots here I'm not using. I might as well get around to some of those. So we're going to now. Why is this 2.0? Why is this Colander Girl 2.0? Well, it's durable. This is a larger colander, of course, and it's going to allow for a lot more roots. Also, this is a taller tube, which is going to allow for a lot more roots, which is going to allow our little seedling to get a lot bigger. We're going to keep this guy going. I think the idea is just to let it go longer so the tree will get bigger. I want this to be a bigger Japanese black pine than what we're used to working with. And when it comes to having roots that are this long, that we can splay out, we can spiral. I see myself taking something and making a wide base that has a twist to it, but I don't want to give it away. It's 2 years from now. What I should really be hoping is that everything goes well and I don't lose anything over a heat spell. Oh, and what I was saying earlier about being worried about how I'm going to get the roots out of that, the PVC tubes, and they will come out, but the idea is I want them to come out. And if I'm doing this live on a show, I don't want the hassle of trying to cut something that's hard plastic and not losing a finger or cutting the tree in half. This I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. This is insulation for pipe. It's plumbing. An 8-foot or a 10-foot stock of this costs like $3. This basket, this colander, $1.99. So I've got like no money in this, and the wire is aluminum. I took a piece of wire and I heated it up with a blowtorch, and I burned a hole here up high and here up high. And then on the opposite side, here down low, and here down low. And to make sure I didn't get lost while I was handling hot pieces of wire and blowtorches, I took the webbing on the bottom of the basket and I marked it with a Sharpie so that I would know that one side was going to be a low burned in hole and the other side would be a high one. That way I'm not infringing on the strength of my styrofoam tube. This is basically the same thing as the pool noodle would be, with one difference. One that's kind of a Death Star, Darth Vader color, whereas pool noodles tend to be brightly colored, look like fun things that you would play in on the pool. And two, it has a cut edge on it. It already has a cut edge right here. When it comes time to free the beast, there's already a cut edge all the way down there. And you can, I don't know how well you can see it, I really feel like I need to, well, I can do it son. But it won't be anything to get everything right out of that quite easily. And then reuse it, because I won't, it's not like I'll be cutting it to pieces. I'll just open up the side that's already split. Why is it split like that? So that you can put it on a piece of pipe. This is pipe insulation to keep your water pipes from freezing over if they're exposed. And it's a cheap item that you would find in the plumbing section of your hardware store. And I think it will be perfect for this. The hole is a little small. The hole might be a little small, but it's long, and I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be okay. So with that being said, now let's see, what are we going to use for substrate? Perlite. Boom. I worried that I would do this and not have enough perlite. I did. I worried about that. Because it seems like I did something like that before. So for that reason, just out of frame, those aren't real tall when you think about it. So for that reason, don't breathe for a second, Pat. For that reason, I've got the rest of my bag of perlite just out of frame, so I won't have to. Wing it. Okay, what I did was I didn't fill up. This has got perlite in it up to here. The part where we start losing aeration, whatever, that's fine, because this tube goes down to, this wire goes straight across, and this is the tie for it. So the tube goes down into our colander this far, and that is covered in substrate now. Fine. Let's plant our tree, shall we? Might as well get started on filling this tube before we get too carried away. I think, don't even say it, Pat, just fill the tube first. Oh, really? Yeah, I guess so. That filled up before I knew it. So We'll let some out. Like half of that out. Yeah. Okay. You are such a cool little tree. Now it's kind of why I wanted to go to a little bit more trouble to tease these guys out. I'm gonna go to a little bit more trouble still. So that's kind of what I meant. Normally when I get all freaky deaky with one of these little pine trees, yeah, if it's unimaginative or I snap it or something, that would only mean that we just, we made a bad video. But I didn't want to bend something badly before I get on, because that wasn't bend it and done. That's bend it and then move on to step 3, and then move on to step 4, and so yeah, that's kind of why I felt a little bit more pressure to get it right, as opposed to the Patricia who, as opposed to the me who can bend trees knowing damn good and well I've got 40 or 50 more. And that also kind of reflects back on what I mean by I don't want anything to die. Yeah. Support that, or it's going out of the top, Patricia. I am excited about the possibilities of this. I see this tree is growing a little bit longer than some of our other pines, and in that way this is going to be kind of our introduction into some maybe a larger tree. Exciting. I'm excited about that. I am let me get all those roots in here. I overpack that. Yay. Close yourself up there. Yes. All right. So I want to be able to keep that closed. I almost thought of everything, but we're okay. Use the aluminum wire to the rescue. I'm listening to him at the pool. Okay, let's get busy. Let's get the rest of that. Let's get a lot of substrate down in there. I want to make real, this is going to be a timely part right here because I had to dump out so much of that substrate to get those roots in here. This part may take a minute. The longest game of Marco Polo. Is it still Marco Polo if the dad is actually in line at the bar? And I guess it is. It's still Marco Polo. I know we still have a lot of this tube to fill up. So it kind of acting like it's full, and I'm not going to open up this tube just to see what I suspect, which is that it's nowhere near full. Yeah, there we go. All right. I see all kind of cool things to do with these trees. I don't want to do the same thing. I don't want to, yeah, it might be kind of cool to do it that way. So you get, you have a couple of ideas you like. You might try 4 or 5 of that one idea and try 4 or 5 of another idea, and that way, giving it a good chance. But out of all the ideas with roots, the part about fanning them out to make a huge base and having them spiral, like start wide and just have them spiral up to a tree, that we're already known for our spirals and shapes and stuff. I think that's going to be a cool and dramatic thing to do with the Japanese black pine, and if we get the kind of roots from, if we get a good payoff from these roots, like I think we are, I think this is going to be a pretty exciting venture in itself. Don't scoop stuff out of the airport and talk about. Where are you going to put it? Well, I have room. I already made room. I did quite a bit today. I moved a few things around on the balcony, and I put our literati. I put back our literati black pine where it typically goes on the rail, and I like the way it's kind of like when your spouse gets some wild haircut that you weren't expecting but you like it. It's like, yeah, it's just every time I look at you I get a little bit of a shock, but at the same time I really do. I like the motion of that tree now. It's not as tall as it was, but it's a lower tree and it has a lot of cool motion to it now. I like that. I'm kind of reluctant to give it a name, but I couldn't help but think that it reminded me of smoke, the way it just kind of comes up. I believe I believe we're doing a pretty okay job of working this soil in. But the trick to it, I think, for me, the trick to it isn't the chop, but to act like you're stirring your drink. Just here, give it a little bit of that. Yeah, I always see the level drop when I do that. The first tree I did this to, is in the same colander that's our best one currently. And but it is our best one currently is the second tree that was in that colander. The first tree, I mean, it went in there, and I went, this thing looks really good, and it went, eh. So yeah, I mean, it died quickly. So I was wondering whether or not it being exposed, those roots being exposed to the light, what that, caused them to, is it air prune or is it light pruning, Anyway, it could have also been that I let an air pocket in their form that I didn't adequately get rid of or take care of. And the end result of that would have been something like this. Hey. Fall down there, fall down there, fall down there, fall down there. Yeah, that's cool. All right, I have really high hopes for this tree. I don't necessarily know that what you saw me do as a final bend is going to be final shape, but it is our signature Cheereo shape, and we're going to take what we've learned about making twisted little pine trees, and we're going to combine that with what we've learned about root propagation and what we can do with that, and we're going to combine those into this guy we see here. I'm excited, y'all. You know what we do now? Nothing. Don't let nothing happen to it for a couple of years, and let this thing grow roots down there. Let them grow roots down here. Let those roots get big. Let these roots get long. Let this tree get big, and yeah, there it is. Colander Girl 2.0. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Our next drop we'll probably do something tomorrow. It's beautiful weekend out. It's been quite warm. Today we got up into the 80s up here. It was like high was 75 in Alameda, but I'm 4 floors up. So it got a little warm up here. But we watered early and stayed on top of it, and I think my balsarcus trees are loving it. And frankly, I think my pines, both varieties, are really loving the warmer temperature. And I think we've got more of that during the next couple of days. So even though it's been hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold, we seem to be in a momentary heat spell, which is going to make watering more deliberate and easier to count on. It's like we know when we get up that we need to get up there and water everything. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Like I said, our next drop will be tomorrow. I appreciate you. Frida appreciates you, and thank you all so much for watching. This is our little Cheereo bent Japanese black pine that we started from seed in our kitchen, and now we've put in our styro tube in our large colander, and boom, go baby go. Yeah, Frida. I know.